What is up? This is Basketball Island, and before we start, let's welcome back Wes. Hey, congrats to the new dad.
I'll take some.
Well, not a new dad, I guess, just dad for the second time around, man.
I'll get that Fred VanVleet energy. We're back at it. All right, it's the playoffs. Let's go.
All right, let's
post baby love.
Ready to go on a heater or what,
I'll
man?
say, man. That's what we need, man.
All right.
Let's get right into this because the entire fabric of the NBA has been shaken to its core. The LeBron, KD, Curry generation, they're done, and the kids have taken over.
Yo, if this was the old days.
Yeah, now, well, the thing about the old days, they the old days.
Ant-Man, Shea, Luka,
even Tatum.
This is their league right now, and that is what these playoffs have shown us.
Yeah, it's pretty stark, man. It's pretty stark. Like, the youngest teams are the ones that are excelling right now. And I don't know, man. Like, Ant-Man, to me, we talked about it last week. He is the guy, and he's doing it on both ends of the floor. I love what I'm seeing. I think the league is in very good hands, and this is without Wemby too. Like, Wemby's coming.
Oh yeah, God.
Like, Wemby's coming as well. Like,
I mean, the shocking thing is Ant-Man's taking out the defending champs right now, and you think of maybe them as being the old guard. Jokic is not even 30. Okay,
I know.
It's a very young league right now. All the old guard guys are pretty much out of it. If you look at even the scoring right now, I mean, I'll ask you guys this: how many players in the top 10 of playoff scoring right now are actually 30 or older?
0.
I literally just looked at this too, and I'm gonna say like maybe one.
1, 0.
One.
Kyrie.
Yeah.
1.
And he's like, you don't even think he's old, right?
Yeah. Young blood.
So he's the only one. Everyone else is under 30. So like, it just tells you where the direction of the league is
Love
going,
it.
right?
Yeah, historically, I think you get these shifts, and this happens to be one of the seasons where it's happening in front of our eyes, right? Where, all these guys who are 25 and under are starting to just have postseason success, and like qualitatively, you see it in these games where you're watching the Thunder and the Mavericks. The Thunder just look more athletic.
Yeah.
They're more explosive. Like, Minnie snatched the souls out of the Nuggets' bodies with athleticism. You could see the steam rising out of their bodies.
It hurt.
It wasn't how they beat them. It wasn't that they just beat them. It's how badly they beat
Ant-Man
them.
sprained both ankles and is still dominating
He's
on both ends.
superhuman,
Like,
yeah.
Luka Doncic, like, and he's like of the older of this younger guard. Like, his knee, he can't move. He can't hit threes. Like, it's very, like, you just see like these young alpha dogs who are just coming in and just taking over. I'm astonished it's happened this quickly.
Well, so that's my point. That's my question. We've all watched the league for a long time. I don't remember a shift this drastic.
Yes.
Well,
Sorry.
so
Yeah,
it's
go
a
ahead.
good point to it then. So I think you got to give a hat tip to LeBron, Steph, and KD for carrying the load for long.
After we buried them off the
Yeah,
top?
no,
Yeah,
right? That's what it is. They've carried the load for so long as a 39-year-old, a 36, 35-year-old. There was nothing left for the guys in between. So now that they've finally kind of taken the foot off the gas pedal, there's like been a jump in generations. The 30, the 35-year-old guys, they just didn't even have a chance because those three guys existed. Boom. It's now all these guys.
Yeah, like their longevity and greatness almost ate up an entire generation.
It did,
Yeah.
and now the young guys, you can't compete. Like, it's showing in the results. You can't compete with them. What they bring to the
I think
table.
it's a massive war of attrition, and I think there is a lot more parity now.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get like all these teams vying for a title. It's not. There's no more. Wait, when's the next dynasty we're gonna see? I don't know. Like,
Might not be for a while.
it might not be for maybe OKC.
But isn't it crazy that literally last June people were like, "Is Denver the next dynasty?"
Well,
This
that's the
is
question.
flipping so quick.
You have
quickly.
to ask it, right? And then look what happened. Absolutely dismantled, right? In a way that we've never seen the Nuggets and
Their
Jokic
offense
look as
looked
mortal.
broken in
looks
game
shook.
2.
So it
Looked
looks shook.
broken.
So I have a question. Is inexperience overrated? Are we starting to see that maybe that isn't as important as we
I don't think it
as
weighs.
touted to be?
It doesn't weigh as
Because-
heavily anymore. I don't
Yeah,
think.
because Chet Holmgren looks fine. Jalen Williams looks fine.
Yeah.
Ant-Man looks fine. So I think at some point, maybe getting to the highest level and winning. We've seen
Yet to be seen.
We've seen really good teams who are young kind of melt down in the finals. The Thunder, the early 2010s, right? Like that's a prime
And that
example.
was another team that, like, in front of our eyes made that leap. They beat the Spurs in those conference finals, and we did not really expect it.
There is a different light in the finals, though.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
shines a little
Well,
brighter
you
than the
can
rest of
argue
these
the Celtics
series.
kind of melted down against the Warriors
2022,
in 2022,
right?
Like, so, yeah, I think to me it's just I don't know these young kids, man. Like, these kids, I don't think they get swayed by anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're just out there balling. Like OKC, every single dude just balls.
Yeah.
They have depth across the board. I love what I'm seeing with the parity, right? Since the Raptors won the title in 2019, there's been a unique title winner every single season.
Yep.
Like, I think that's the era we're headed towards. And it's just going to be one season. This team's healthy. This team just has it. Like Minnesota. Like, what did we talk about coming into this playoffs was, I don't know if their offense can hang in the fourth. They seem very, very it's stifling. They found something, man. They're getting every shot they want.
Do they not have the best offense in the playoffs right now? I think they have the best offensive rating. So
them and OKC are undefeated as of this taping. They are undefeated. Like, that is an insane thing to me.
Yeah.
I just can't believe we're watching it unfold right now before
So-
our eyes, and the way it has.
I'm just gonna slightly play devil's advocate here, and
Oh.
I don't necessarily know if I believe this, but the Nuggets right now are
It's not a lie if you
no,
believe it.
the Nuggets right now are 16-1 to win the title. After what we've seen through 2 games, there's nothing logical in my brain that makes me think
Fair
that
point.
they can win this series. But it's been 2 games, and it's like, I don't want to overreact too much with Minnesota. When if Denver takes Game 3, I don't think this series is over
It's
yet.
hard not to overreact.
Yeah, because it was so drastic.
It's
No,
two-way
it's the
dominance.
it's the manner. It's the manner in which they got beat. If they squeaked by or they had a comeback fourth quarter win and they stole a game from Denver, but what do we hear about Denver all the time? They're mile high home court advantage.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Non-existent.
Denver didn't lose both games on the road. They lost them at home. It's a big difference.
I think
right?
going into Game 1, they had lost Game 1 in Denver
It
in
is
their
a
history.
big
Yeah.
difference. Like Fab and I were looking for this. We couldn't find the stat online of how many teams have come back from 0-2 down on their home court. Okay, I don't know why.
I believe it's 5.
Okay,
I think someone
perfect.
I think Stats Williams from ESPN had said that.
Shout out, thanks Stats Williams,
Yeah.
right?
Respect.
But the point being is, Minnesota didn't just beat Denver. It was a beat down, in the worst of ways, and that's what everybody's jaw was on the table, right? Because you're watching why was a heat pack thrown on the why was a heat pack thrown on the court, right? Why do you think that? You know how frustrated they were.
Yeah.
Like they were ready to throw. Look, roll the clip of Coach Malone. Look how crazy, and he didn't even get a tech for that, right? Think about how crazy these guys were acting. Have you ever seen Denver that unraveled?
It was a meltdown. It was a meltdown. And I
yeah,
think
that's bad.
what we're seeing with the Nuggets is that if Jamal Murray's not clicking, it's really hard for them. And now I don't know the extent of his calf injury. I'm not going to make excuses for him. I think he might be a little bit banged up. But Minnesota smells blood, and they're going right after him on both ends. So if he's not close to optimal, you're looking around, you're like, okay, well, Jokic is kind of bothered by their size. They don't really have on-the-ball creators. MPJ can spot up.
He's not
Gordon
great.
can kind of
You can't count on
can
him
cut.
individually.
Those
Not a
guys aren't
creator.
creating offense for you.
So I think coming in, the one weakness Denver may have had was their bench.
Yeah.
We didn't know if the bench could come through. They lost Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. That was the worry. The worry now is obviously their starting lineup. The way they start games, they're just digging themselves these holes. And against the Lakers, against the old-ass Lakers, you could probably find your way back. Jamal Murray, heroic performances in Game 2 and 5. So it's like, to me, if that starting lineup is coming out in games flat against this version of Minnesota, this version with that twinkle in their eye, the Wolf Pack, are you I'm telling you right now, I want to be prisoner of the moment. I don't want to be the prisoner of the moment guy to be like, oh, Minnesota, just write them in. They're going to the finals. I know you laid some money down.
Did you as well?
I did as
I
well.
believe you did.
I love defense.
The way Wes
I love
texted us yesterday, it's like, guys, I got something to say. It's like, hey, I bet Minnesota win the title. Full disclosure, I got Minnesota win the title.
But how do you not?
I do it now.
How do you not?
I give the public a warning, right? I said bet at 390. It's coming down, and boom, where's it now?
it's
It's at
down.
290.
It's
right?
down.
So
It's
I
down.
gave you.
But how
And
do
I'm glad you
hold
did.
on,
I'm glad you did.
Gave you a heads up, man. You had a chance.
so
to
proud
act.
of you, man.
One other thing. So Nikola Jokic, he's winning MVP. He has to at least go down swinging in
Oh
the
yeah.
series.
Oh yeah.
You
he
can,
will.
for a guy who's held in very high esteem at this point, deservedly, you may lose, maybe you get swept, but
Take
game
30
three,
shots.
Game 3,
Yep.
I need to see you go as hard as I've ever seen you to at least go down with honor.
So, someone's got to help High not go 0-10, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
man.
listen, someone's got to do it. So.
Yeah, can we?
Jokic got to step up.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, when we made our picks for round 2,
Yeah.
we only had 3 series to choose from. Odds weren't available because of the timing of
go.
it. And hey, man, you paint me in a corner. I'll say this: you want to make money? Just fade me. Just look at my picks and go the other way.
You were really itching to bet Boston to win $1 on to beat the Cavs, right? That was my move. Of course, Boston's beating the Cavs.
Minus 1,600.
Okay, I will say this: same thing. At both times, it was Minnesota. I doubt
Yeah, no,
Minnesota.
I got. So that's actually what happened for me. I just didn't want to bet it. I don't want to touch it. I was like, man, I have a bad feeling. I was like, I don't want anything to do with this.
And
for
here's
yourselves.
we have the rare. You guys touched on it with Jokic. We have the rare opportunity with the time when we're posting this. This will be up by Friday. We can look into Friday's games. Do you see any opportunity either with potentially with Jokic props, a Denver money line, Denver spread. What do we think for going into game 3?
I was big on the under in this series coming in. The under is hit in 2 games. Game 3 is so crucial. I'm also going to bet the under in game 3. I think that's the play here. I think Minnesota's defense is just that suffocating. Like Jokic is averaging like 5.5 turnovers a game. Denver's been incredibly inefficient. I lean under, but game 3, if you think Denver has any chance in this series, they have to win game 3. Yeah. I would put my money on Denver game 3 if you think they can win.
Isn't that this is the typical? This is like the heart of a champion game. If you are a champion, which they are,
well, it looks like
you need to take this game.
Their hearts got stomped in 2 games at home. If the way their body language, man, we're going like body language doctor type things. Like you said it, man. Their souls got snatched.
The steam was rising from their bodies.
Yeah,
like that palpable frustration across.
Here's another interesting thing, and someone on Twitter had mentioned. I think it was Raheem Palmer from the Ringer, that the officiating has a lot to do with how these games go, because the Nuggets Wolves game was like, I think he said, a basketball game in Pelican Bay, where it's like, okay, are we just allowing this because Oklahoma City, Dallas, there was a whistle and everything.
Ticky-tack.
It's ticky-tack. So what kind of game are we getting? Because if that's the whistle the Wolves are getting, you have no chance.
So I like Mark Davis.
Yeah.
My favorite ref. I like that. I like that he let
who has favorite ref?
He let go, man. He that's his reputation. He let go. I like that personally. I think we saw mid-season, right?
Yeah.
There was a tweak in how games were being officiated. And I think, for a team like Minnesota, they're going to benefit from that greatly. And I think we're seeing that in the playoffs.
Do you think, but is that point, has that affected the playoffs? Where if that rule change doesn't happen, are we seeing different stuff in the series where...
I hope not. Playoffs are always like kind of...
Yeah, they let things go more.
They let things go more. It helps teams like Minnesota.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's naturally going to help a team with like rugged perimeter defenders who are going to take all the liberties they can, right? Yeah. And if you have a good coach, they'll tell you to get away with as much as you can.
Yeah.
The Heat have done that for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like keep going until they tell you no, right?
Okay, so let's transition then, because we're gonna rank title teams here.
Yes, we are.
Do you have Minnesota at the top of your? Before we start, let's just write off Cleveland and Indiana.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about them. They're not title teams.
I sign off on that.
Yeah.
Check
Cleveland,
box.
no chance.
Cleveland 8th because they're frauds. Pacers 7th because where the hell is Tyrese Halliburton? But that's another question entirely.
So, do you have Minnesota ahead of Boston?
I do. And again, try not to be prisoner of the moment, but I think you can just tell when a team has that twinkle. They have that, like Ant-Man is. I love Ant-Man, as you guys are very well aware. Number 1 offense in the playoffs, which is surprising, and their defense is going to be good. I have them number 1. I don't feel right about Boston. Something is off to me about Boston. They're going to have a very free ride.
Yeah.
We know they're getting to the finals.
So I do think we have to at least, say that we have to base this on the path as well, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Because Minnesota might have that twinkle in their eye, but they're going to have a guaranteed tough Western
Well,
Conference
they could lose
final
to Dallas or OKC. I don't think that would shock anybody.
Well, let's talk about it, because Boston, I mean, unless things go way off the rails, they should be in the final.
Boston plays with its food, man. Boston,
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
There's something wrong with
Even last year too. Same thing last year.
I understand
too
that-
talented.
I know what you mean. Like, listen, I understand the last few years they have this reputation. Listen, they can definitely vomit on themselves at any point. We've seen it so many times.
We've seen it.
I mean, on this postseason, I don't know what more we could have expected from them to this point. I mean, they dropped that game 2 against Miami, but
they hit like 25 threes
but
in
they've
that game.
blown out every other game. I mean, I don't
Boston's
know,
done nothing wrong.
right? Like,
They've
I don't
done
know
nothing wrong.
Yeah.
They've done
Absolutely
To the
nothing
point,
wrong.
though, that our friends at FanDuel put up another interesting little bet of Boston versus the field. And I think when I saw this, I was kind of like, what? Sorry, FanDuel. What were you thinking putting that bet up there? But I don't know. Like, I'm inclined to take the field there. But does this bet make sense? And would either of you take Boston?
It's a pick 'em. I wouldn't take Boston. I mean, I have Minnesota ranked 1. I would not. I mean, you tell me. Like, where do you guys have
Well,
Boston?
I mean, the thing with that bet is Boston's only going to face one team from the West. So it's not like you're getting to pick all 4 from the West. It's just Boston is pretty much guaranteed to come out of the East. So then you're only getting one opponent. So it doesn't matter which one of the 4 it is.
Yeah.
I'd rather cherry pick specifically which team out of the West I think I like to square up against Boston, as opposed to just banking on all 4 of them.
Just hunting that value. That's
It's
smart.
like, you can decipher which team you think you like more, but that's what we try to do,
What do
right?
we do?
Yeah, I would put Boston as the favorite right now. I think with home court advantage, the talent. Now, the Porzingis thing's a bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
I would assume he needs to be back for the final to win the finals. I'm not going to pick them without him. but they can get through the East without him.
I think that helps his case, though. The fact that they know they can get through the East without him, and they can keep him out for as long as possible to make sure he's
Essentially,
healthy.
if you're Boston, you're like, listen, can you be healthy for 2 weeks in June when we need you the most? Now, maybe he won't, but I put them as the favorite right now. That's not they're not the favorite with a bullet to me. I think they could easily lose to Minnesota in a final. Now, the Thunder is an interesting conversation now, right? Like, at what point are we like, maybe they can do this?
So
Like,
I had Mavs coming in. to
Myself
the series.
included.
We had the Mavs. I think that was based on just they have two alphas, creators that can just get you 50 at any
Yeah.
moment. Luka doesn't look right. I was worried about Maxi Klebo. He got hurt after we made those picks.
Yeah.
Luka's knee does not look right. And if Luka is not hitting his threes, if he's not dominating on offense,
It was ugly last night. I think you
I'm
gave a
worried.
stat in the group chat for what his threes have been.
it's 22% in
But
the
it
playoffs,
was
I think.
nothing. Like even his step backs were just like, dude, like why are you trying to shoot that? He looked. He looked.
Thunder looks
Awful,
spry.
yeah.
Thunder looks spry.
Yeah, if Doncic is not playing close to primo levels, then it's going to be over quickly.
Well, there's a theme with these two young teams that were really catching everyone's attention. Mini, we're talking about their defense. OKC's defense is
Yeah.
actually what should catch your attention
Yep.
if you're watching. They completely neutralized any rim threat that Dallas brought, which has been the anchor of their offense so far. When Luka gets into that mid-range, he's kind of like tricky, he can pass it 3 ways. Boom, lob, easy dunk. They were next to none of those against OKC in game 1. So defense is becoming a big trend, and that's what happened. A lot of these old teams, the old guard teams, they just couldn't defend.
Yeah.
And all these young teams that are bringing it right now, it's on that end of the
And
court,
OKC
especially with the refs.
And
whistle.
OKC, the only team to allow 95 points or under in 5 straight games. Like the only team to do that, I think, was the Spurs in like
There you go.
2016. So
Crazy.
they are actually like completely underrated on defense.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about Mini, but they're actually like cashing in those
Well,
checks.
is it because they have a guy anchoring their defense that should have won Rookie of the Year in your eyes? Is that why?
Wins matter apparently. Who would have thunk it?
Chet's
Who would
playing
have thunk
great.
it?
Chet's playing great now.
Chet's been awesome. Yeah.
For Dallas, I
Come on,
think
man.
they don't have the front court guys who can really exploit Oklahoma
Yeah.
City. They don't have creators in the front court. So if they're not getting any pressure on
It's
the
almost
rim,
the perfect matchup for OKC.
The
We'll
others
see.
have to score.
I don't want to be overreact. I think Dallas.
It's been
will-
one game. Let's just say that. By the time you watch this,
listen,
it'll be
Dallas
game
is
2.
not. No, Dallas is not done in the
Dallas
series.
loses game 1. That's what they do. They
Dallas
lose
is
game
not done in the series. I think it will go a little further than 5 games, but
So
it's
what?
worrying signs.
So we disagree on Minnesota, Boston. I think it's fair to say at this juncture, based on what we're seeing with Luka's injury, we can go OKC third.
I'm not ready to.
I would put OKC above Dallas.
Yeah.
for sure.
So,
and
but
New York
I
for sure.
honestly think if what we saw from Luka in game 1 is the Luka we get all series, I'm fine to even put Denver ahead of Dallas because, dude, like,
please stop.
no, man, like,
You know what?
We're really
maybe-
overreacting to
maybe-
2 games, and it is just 2 games.
No, look, it's a fair discussion. I think right now, it just for me, why I'd still have Dallas ahead of Denver is the position the Nuggets are in right now.
Yeah,
to
it's
me,
tough. It's really tough.
like I know what the odds say on FanDuel. There's like plus 480, whatever it is, to win the series. I don't know how you walk into Minnesota's arena after getting beat down like that and say, "Oh, I'm going to win both these games and bring it back home." And
Without
win this series.
Gobert in game 2, too. Like,
Yeah,
Absolutely
I'll still
smothered.
probably go Denver ahead of Dallas.
Yeah.
just because of the
Ow.
pedi- Oh, do you honestly think this
based on
Dallas
their current
do
juncture,
you honestly
current
think
path,
this? Do you
current
honestly
path.
think this Dallas team is going to beat Minnesota and then Boston?
Okay, so
Like-
I'll
like
take a
really,
step.
though,
So
like-
better question: who is more likely to make the conference finals, Denver or Dallas?
You're
Yeah,
yes,
that's-
I get it.
that's
It's
what
Dallas.
this
And that's
thing is
part of
based
it.
But
on.
also-
I get it. I'm
That's
just saying,
fine.
I'll
4
give
days
Denver
ago-
the respect of like Dallas could easily lose game 2, and then it's like, okay, well they're in the same position, right? So
And 4 days
they-
ago, would anybody have said any of this?
Yeah.
No. Like I know it's just 2 games, and while those 2 games were our eyes are telling us one thing, 4 days ago no one would have said that. So I'm just hesitant to want to overreact to a 2-game sample of something.
Here's what I
That
will
Denver
say.
game 3.
I will.
You have to.
I'm glad I will.
With
Denver-
this rhetoric.
Definitely has the higher ceiling than Dallas. Fair. Of
course.
That's very fair, okay? But current circumstance,
Yes.
they are in a lot
Yes.
of trouble.
now.
Yeah.
And I don't think people are giving them enough credit. Like they're in the cornerest of corners, okay? The pointiest
You're right.
of corners.
You're right. So I think based on what we know, I think Boston and Minnesota are the top tier.
Yeah, for
Are
sure.
we all in agreement?
Yeah.
I think
Would,
that's
would
a
you put the
likely
Thunder
finals.
slightly under them?
Right
Yeah,
now,
I think
right
the
now,
Thunder are
Thunder
probably
just
right
below.
there.
Slightly under them, and then I think it's almost
Denver, Dallas flip flop.
Hey,
I go
Knicks at
Dallas.
6.
How about the Knicks?
Yeah, Knicks.
That-
At
I
6.
mean, like
Knicks
we
at
haven't
6.
even talked about the Knicks at all.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
so
man. So Mitchell Robinson just went down.
that's tough. Randall's not in it. That's tough.
They're gonna play a lot of Precious Achua, our
Okay.
boy.
They probably should have lost game 1.
Could have lost
probably
game one.
should've lost game one.
Why are
Questionable
we
calls.
penciling them in against the Pacers?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like,
so
what? Because they won game 1 at home on some Zach Zarba BS.
Yeah.
All I'm
Like, did you
saying-
see some of the calls that were going their way?
look,
Like,
45
that's
minutes.
not a done series, man.
45 minutes for these starters. The way, Josh
Yeah.
Hart played all 48
Yeah.
minutes last game. That
Yeah.
is not sustainable, man. They're gonna
The
keep
top
dropping
3
like flies.
minutes getters in the playoffs are New York Knicks.
Of course. To me,
Josh
the-
Hart, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby.
To me, the Knicks are in the same category as the Cavs and Pacers. They have no shot
Yeah.
of winning the championship.
They have a lot-
I'm fine putting them in that
they have
category.
Fine, you want to give them a
I think-
0.5% chance? It's not happening.
I think
man.
we
Knicks have
tier them.
heart.
I think they're ahead of those two bottom East teams, and then you have that middle pack of
Very,
the West.
yeah.
That's pretty much what it is
Yeah.
right now.
Don't underrate the Knicks' heart, man. They got heart. They just don't have
Yeah.
depth.
They're not
I
winning
like
a
they don't-
championship.
They
though.
literally have heart.
Yes.
Josh Hart.
And
There we go. Nice. Connor, insert the Price is Right loser game show sound, please. Yeah, so I think we're pretty much in agreement there. There's definitely tiers to this, and it's
Yeah.
like there's 5 teams that can win the title of these 8.
maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And I will say this: Rudy Gobert missed game 2. Wes is right here. So
Ah, take that, Rudy.
My man.